The financial life of someone with ADHD can be chaotic. We have an idea of how much we earn, but what about how much we spend? It's quite common to be surprised by the credit card bill or to make unnecessary impulse purchases. But there are tools that help me bring order to this chaos, and I teach all of them in the first link in the description.
Another point we're going to talk about now is the natural issues of ADHD that may be affecting the relationship. In other words, as you may already know, ADHD, it affects important areas of the mind and our cognition and executive function. To help you understand this concept, cognition is the ability to react to the environment, to respond, listen, speak, think quickly, and act quickly. And executive function, well, cognition also includes the senses of input, right? And executive function is the part where you put into practice everything you think and envision, right? And executive function is the part where you put into practice everything you think and envision. You actually execute, you speak, react, and put a plan into action, right? So all of this is part of executive function. You actually execute, you speak, react, and put a plan into action, right? So all of this is part of executive function. And some important points you need to pay attention to regarding these characteristics of ours. We have difficulty with emotional self-regulation. Many of you tend to, it's not the case for me, but I know it happens quite a bit, tend to have very heightened emotions. And emotion is any emotion, okay? I'm talking about extreme emotions, meaning you cry easily or you blow up easily. Emotional regulation is often a bit compromised with ADHD. But attention, it could also be the case that you have some comorbidity, okay? I had the issue of obsessive disorder, which I treated with my psychiatrist, along with ADHD. So it's important for you to also have this clarity that it's not just ADHD that you need to address, or issues related to executive function, of inhibitory control, emotional control, but also objective issues like this. You have anxiety, or you have an impulsivity that's really off the charts. We, as people with ADHD, have an impulsivity that's already way above average. But if you have something that really hinders you and brings daily setbacks, you probably have some comorbidity related to that. So, when a person has instability, they suddenly change their temperament and they don't know how to control that situation. When this situation arises, for example, when something goes out of your control at home, you miss a time, and then you miss the time, you start blaming everyone. And that really upsets you deeply, even though it wouldn't be a big deal at first. And this can even ruin your outing or even your day. You're going to be late for a fun event that should be relaxed. And the fact that you're a little late, you just completely lose control of that. Do you get like this? Extremely irritated, out of the ordinary, out of what you should be. And then you keep dwelling on it a lot, deeply, and it's no use just saying, oh, that's not that important, right? Leave it be. I'm going to focus on the more important things of now and the moment, right? Forget it. I'm going to focus on the more important things of now and the moment. You can't rationalize. You just get really angry, and then later you'll see the damage that it might have caused. Or even the issue of emotional control can be you getting too happy. Too excited, okay? You project this to other people, even with a certain insecurity. You can get too happy about an event in your life that wasn't that important, right? You have an achievement or some new news, and then you just want to tell everyone. You rush through the natural order of things, right? And you even forget to keep up with your tasks, or you end up completely disconnecting from a dinner, of an event, where you're with someone because you received a nice WhatsApp message, talking positively about a situation. Anyway, things that really bring out your positive emotions. They even make you disconnect from the moment you're living. You disconnect from the now because you'll be there ruminating, just like I said, the negative example. You'll be ruminating on the positive event, and then you completely forget what you were doing. Lose the focus too. Another point, managing anger. Frustration, when something is out of your control. Or even you being rude or very reactive when something irritates you. This kind of volcano, that little inner volcano you have, can bring you problems and social consequences. Not just in relationships, as I mentioned, but also with other people, with your coworkers, with your colleagues, with the teacher, anyway. You have to be very careful with that. And this self-awareness is the first step. So, even if you think you're managing to control yourself or control those outbursts of anger, those heightened emotions, let's put it this way. The frequency and repetition of these episodes are what degrade the relationship, and often, dating or marriage can end precisely because of the frequency of these occurrences. So therefore, be very careful with outbursts of anger. Is it or is it with situations that easily get out of your control? Notice when you are, that's right, present in one of these examples I'm giving. And be careful, because even if you don't go too far, you don't need to yell at your partner, hit someone, flip a table, or throw a glass of water at someone. I'm not talking about extreme cases, but even milder cases. With repetition, you can end up being affected and affecting your relationship. All right. Another point that usually happens is that you procrastinate the more complex tasks at home, maybe because it has many steps, and you still don't have a defined plan, a strategy that you intend to follow. I'm going to renovate the electrical installation of the house. This requires some steps. It requires you. Maybe call an engineer to do it if you don't have the electrical plan of the house. Call an engineer to do an assessment or a more experienced electrician. Make the budget, then you go and execute it. If you have to break down the house, you'll have to leave the house for a few days, or you'll have to live there with other people doing the work. So this requires planning, a complexity, and then you keep postponing that more complex task, okay? Avoiding action. Exactly, probably because you have trouble planning, or define a strategy, okay? And that makes you seem like a careless person with the relationship, right? Or even selfish, right? And so it goes. In other words, the fact that you postpone important tasks can make the person have a different view of you, a distorted view of you as someone selfish, someone who doesn't really care about the relationship.
ADHD can indeed impact your life. Have you ever felt that if you had the courage to act exactly as you think, everything would be different? People would respect and admire you? Many adults with ADHD are wasting precious time in life because they can't break free from the cycle of self-sabotage. But I developed a method that changed my game, and I'm going to teach it to you in the first link in the description.